Hey, screeners, how you doing? It's myself, the one AJ Anthony Jordan.
And me, Nico Lurot, double V, the Viceroy, very similar to you. Shout out to all my Nicoholics. I got to throw it up because it's still so close to Monday. Oh, if you follow us on Twitter, you know why we're doing this. Too sweet.
It was one of those moments, guys, that, ministry movements. Do you know what? Tune in tomorrow for a ministry podcast and you'll see what we're talking about. Like it's one of those moments. I've been to wrestling shows before and they've been sweet because it's been my brother, it's been my cousin and his friends. But guys that you talk about wrestling to on a daily basis and going out, and it's something that we've talked about. And more than anything, like, no disrespect to Den, no disrespect to Leon, no disrespect to Big Tone. Nico and I have had conversations since WrestleMania 20. Like, WrestleMania 20, it's not even 25. 25 was the dream. So the fact that we finally got to do a show together was surreal. Absolutely.
We've been talking about it since way before then.
But even that, do you know what I mean? Even that. So
we've been talking about wrestling since pretty much the golden days of 1997.
This is what I'm talking about. So it's been a mad time. Like, obviously the first time was always a nuts one. Me and my bro, we were so deep in it. But yeah, that was a moment and a half. It felt unreal.
Not going to bore the movie fans with wrestling, because that's not what you've tuned in for.
Bro, that's why it felt unreal, because I was talking about an unreal location. Did you see the segue? You kind of missed it. I
missed that one. But I'll say this. Much like it's all about, I feel, the collective. You know, the same way that when we went to see Endgame together, you know, one of the things that we both remember is the audience is all quiet and I started the applause, right? You always remember this, right? Or when Kat picked up Mjolnir and we were like, ah, you know, there's a collective holy shit. There's something very healthy. It's much like going to a comedy club or even watching a scary movie. There's something collective about a group of people all going through the same collective emotion together. And despite the fact that I got to see my guy, Rey Mysterio, live, do you know what will stay with me for that night forever? Is Nakamura's entrance. That many people in unison singing the man's song. It was like a rock concert. It was like, there's nothing fake about this. And I'm not talking about what they're doing in ring. I'm talking about the collective joy. And then the tech's here. What up, Dan? Hey. Back at you, my man. And actually, I want to thank Dan the Tech for organizing those tickets.
Listen, if it wasn't for, I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but Dan, you were very instrumental in it happening. A gift that will long be remembered in our minds and in our hearts, if I can be very honest and emotional. So thank you very much, brother. And man, for those who want to know more about Dan the Tech, he'll be here tomorrow.
All I've been doing for the last few days. Whoa. My missus has literally been like, can you stop now? But you don't understand. It was so good. It was people singing together and there was happiness in the room, and happiness is contagious. It was wonderful.
It's one of those things. And I to people who aren't wrestling fans or sporting fans, I would recommend you go into one. Like me, who's not the world's biggest football fan, having been to a few Arsenal games. Let's not get into where they are in the league, but just in general of going to one of their games. Like it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. Like as you said, it's that collective feeling. It is really nice. It is really nice.
So, there is something healthy about human beings being together and collectively sharing the same positive emotion. It's good for the soul. It just is.
I couldn't agree more.
And I've been riding that wave since Monday, man. I've happiness all around. But we've also both seen Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings at the cinema. More, I guess, on that a bit later at a appropriate intermission, which will be coming. But I'd say that definitely played an influence in this top 10. Because Talo in Shang-Chi, that was pretty. That was a cool.
Do you know what? That was actually pretty stupid of me. I actually forgot that one.
I honestly thought because this was your idea, this one. I thought that's what you pulled it from. Shang-Chi, fantasy setting. I was like, makes sense.
Do you know what? Maybe, possibly it was instrumental. I was just like going through some of our previous topics as you do, but I was like, we done. I think I was scrolling through and I was like, we done 6 states in America or cities in America, and then we done outside of America. And I was like, fantasy locations. There was all these different places that came into my head from back then that were just in my mind, and I was like, yeah, let's throw it up. Let's see what happens. And yeah, here we are.
It's a beauty. It's a really, really cool list. It is, as the name implies, if you are hard into your artisanal B movie independent drama, maybe this top 10's not for you. AJ, I'm just gonna go check the bell, but it might already be time for you to talk about Candyman. Please allow me to check. I'll be right back.
Okay,
I'll come back and tell you.
Right. Okay. So while Nico's going off, we're in a position of you'll get a mini film review from one of the silver screen dudes because he has some stuff to take care of with a doorbell, as you can tell. So if it is, you will hear a Candyman review.
AJ,
Candyman
say
review.
His name. Say his name.
I'll say his name 5 times because, to be honest, he didn't get anything out of me. I was quite let down. Not too long ago, we done our most anticipated movies of the year, or some blockbusters, and Nico had actually brought up Candyman, and I held back, and I was like, I didn't want to say Candyman because, one, I wasn't too sure when it was being released, but 2, I've not seen the original. And luck had it, me and the missus were there. The missus and I, if you would, for correct English, were there, and we're like, let's try a film. And previously we done Shang-Chi and The Free Guy, and we're like, let's take horror for a spin. And you guys know me, and I'm pointing for everyone watching on YouTube. I don't do horror, not because they scare me, but it's exactly the opposite. They don't scare me, and I find them a waste of time. I tried Shang-Chi. No, Shang-Chi was cool. Tried Candyman, and it started off as a really interesting story that made you think, oh, where is this going? But then it just dragged. Now, I don't want to stop people from actually going to go and see a film because, hey, everyone's opinion is subjective. But the Silver Screen Dudes, if you are a subscriber, if you're not, thank you and welcome for their first time listening. It's a tough watch. It just felt like, for me, I'm not looking for slasher horror. Well, maybe I am looking for slasher horror, but it just needed that little bit more. It had, I think I even stopped to count how many deaths there were because I was like, well, for this major big bad that was there, it just didn't have it. It has a good backdrop story that kind of has you interested, but then it starts to cross into the stupid, as it were, of horror, and I was just very, very, very disappointed by it, if I'm honest. If I'm even further honest, I think there was a bad taste in my mouth when I read the name Jordan Peele. He's done Us, he's done Get Out, and now Candyman. I haven't seen Us, and Get Out just wasn't for me either. I was like, yeah, interesting concept. I see where you're going, but then it got stupid. And that's what I tend to find with some of these films, that they have a good build, and then they just lose you halfway to / towards the end. So I know we've got 2 viewers at the moment. This is all new to us, so we're not like dissing the fact that we've got 2 viewers. We know a lot of you listen via pod, which will come later on in time. It's not the Wednesday evening on the 22nd of September. But for anyone watching, have you seen Candyman? What were your thoughts on Candyman? Because
mine.
You know what? Perfect timing, bro. Perfect timing. I was just saying, I don't know if I'm a Jordan Peele fan, honestly, because Get Out didn't do much for me.
Get Out didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, and again, as I said, he what bugs me with his movies is that they start off well and then they just waver off into this stupidity that just loses me. I feel there's a drag in his film.
But this isn't an exclusively Jordan Peele film. We have to remember that. I'm pretty sure Nia DaCosta's the director.
You could well be right, actually.
And I believe Peele co-wrote this and produced it. I'll say this for Peele, credit where it's due. He's definitely got a voice. He's definitely got a style. And I think for any director as green as he is to already have found his voice, I commend him for. And he's got a fan base. I'm not part of that, but I get why people like him. He's different, and I completely get the appeal. It's just not for me, and that's fine. You knew what when we did the episode a few months ago now? What were our top 10 most anticipated remaining?
This is what I kicked off with.
Yeah,
I was saying it was one that you had on the list, and I didn't want to because I haven't seen the original. Still yet to see the original. I hope
remember.
Yeah, I hope it's got more. I hope it's got more than this, because for all the Candyman talk that I've heard along the years, and the fact that you thought you could remake it, I fell a bit short.
I'm not sure it was a remake. That's the thing. I don't know if it was a sidequel, a sequel. It was definitely not a prequel.
It's a sidequel from some nature, because when I saw the, dare I say, original Candyman in there at the end, sorry for the spoiler, guys, and also, dare I say, yeah, but there was also what the character who plays the mum in this one was also in the original Candyman, with the same name.
I wasn't aware of that. That's cool.
So I literally,
it's not a sequel then. Surely it's a sequel.
It's one of those loose. It's a sequel the same way Incredible Hulk is to Hulk. It's got loose connections too, but it's not. It's somewhat independent in its own right as well.
Let's not beat around the bush with Candyman. I think at best we've got lukewarm feelings about it. I'll say this about it, to its credit: fucking beautifully filmed.
That I will give.
Beautifully filmed. Like it's
as
one
I
of the
said, it's a good.
I've seen this year.
It has a good story. It just fell short halfway to the end. Like second act onwards, you just kind of like you're dragging, and then you're like, oh, is that how you've really finished? Dare I say, from villain to superhero-esque, it's like, what are you really doing? It
went 0 to hero way too quickly.
Yeah, and then
we've only got 20 minutes of movie left. Wrap it up.
Yeah, and then you just had all this other part. Yeah, I don't know. Den says 100% a sequel. I've heard differently, bro, but I'll take your word. I'll take your word for
it. Beautifully shot. I don't think I could give it much more than a 5.5 or 6 out of 10 if I was to score it. But yeah, that's our feelings on Candyman. Lukewarm at best, which is a damn shame because I'll re-emphasize it was one I was really looking forward to.
Yeah. Right. So we've done wrestling, we've done Candyman. What we haven't done is the Movie Mount Rushmore. So 12 minutes in, exactly. Nico, would you like to tell people joining us for the very first time what the Movie Mount Rushmore is all about, please, sir?
Basically, it's a top 10 show between two best friends from school. You can find, I've done this. You can find the Movie Mount Rushmore on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and now also on TuneIn and Stitcher, and of course Geo7, which is one of our most popular platforms. Who'd have thought? Massive in India. Wouldn't have thought
that. The place that took over Croydon.
Literally, it took over Croydon. Yeah, true story. If you are not following us on one of the podcast platforms, we are, as you can see right here, available right in the YouTube stratosphere. You can like the video, share the video with any movie fans that you may know, that you may think like the banter between two best friends talking about movies in a loosely knowledgeable way. But how does the Mount Rushmore actually work? AJ and I get assigned a topic, we go our separate ways, and we come right back here into recording and deliver to you, the Silver Screen Dudes, our individual top 10s. This week, Double V, will go first, delivering his bottom 3. AJ will then deliver his bottom 3. I will deliver my next 2. AJ will deliver his next 2, and then we will trade one apiece. If at any time, while we are running off our individual top 10 lists, one person has a movie in a higher position, that person will say,
punt.
And we will punt and talk about that movie when we get to the higher position. And once we have both rounded off our individual top 10 lists, we will create the Movie Mount Rushmore. These are the 4 quintessential diverse must-see movies of this genre, or could be multiple movies in this week's case, which this week is...
Top 10 fantasy locations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sir, over to you.
Over to me. Okay, so in at number 10 is... This movie, obviously, this movie will draw comparisons to a far, far, far superior franchise. It's just the name of the beast. It's definitely the runt of the litter when it comes to fantasy that came out around this sort of time. I'm talking about Narnia.
Do you know, I never actually got around to watching those. I'm not going to lie. And I've never actually read anything Narnia, so I'm...
No, neither have I. Neither have I. I've much like with all fantasy, the books often far exceed the works, and I mean that even of my number 1. So, and my number 2. And do you know what? pretty much everything which has got a book on this list, I would argue the book is better. That I've read, obviously.
Fair play.
In this case, I can't comment. I
will give Narnia 4. I think it's Hidden Cinema or Secret Cinema, whichever one it is. They've actually done like a Narnia theme for Christmas, and I've always thought it looked very cool to walk through the wardrobe and enter their cinema. I've not seen it; I've just seen the adverts. So that's cool. Something. Yeah. No,
I dig that. They had some fun stuff going on with Narnia. It was a lot more sort of modern, well, not modern, completely the wrong word. It was a lot more folklore than fantasy, if that makes sense. So, you had the little centaurs and things. Oof, I guess that's fantasy too. I'm pulling at threads here. The tall and the short of it is that these movies got progressively worse and worse and worse. They did, though. I saw all three of them, and I was like, by the end of it, I was like, oh, no, I'm not interested anymore. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, for its sins and for its faults, was still an entertaining movie, and there were some good ideas in place there. Then Prince Caspian came out, and it tried to go a bit Prisoner of Azkaban, and it was like, yeah, but no. And then Voyage of the Dawn Treader came out, which was the redefinition of a snooze fest. I was like, I'm sorry, no. But I like the world you're set in. The world is interesting. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of pieces at play. The reason it's my number 10, despite having a beautiful world, is that unlike some of the other locations and mythical places we're going to talk about in this list, bit like Warcraft, actually. You could see there was something here. I wanted more from it.
Okay. I hear that. That's fair play. I would, as I kicked it off with, I've not seen or watched, so it's very hard to contribute when you're a novice in that field. But hey. It's on my list. It's one of those things that, again, it's the audience you're with who really wants to. Yeah, if someone's in for Narnia for it. But.
Can I be honest? Your time would be better served elsewhere than in Narnia. It would, though. Like, we spoke about a movie last week, which you're yet to see, and if you were to pick between this line or the lines from last week, I would say watch The Ghost in the Darkness before you watch.
Bro, of course, I get it. These are your Sunday afternoon type films, like 3 Sundays in a row. You'll give Narnia a shot or knock it all out in one night. That sounds so wrong, but you get the point of where I'm going. Yeah, I will give it a shot one day, but it's not high priority. That's why it's not been done yet. Like it
shouldn't be high priority. There's nothing there that I can be like, for that scene you need to see. No, it's fine. And that's almost the condemnation with the movie, isn't it? To say it's fine, just meaning it's nothing. You don't hate it because hate is an interesting one because it always by proxy then invites discussion and invites debate and invites confrontation, which is of course fantastic for our podcast. But in this case, it's kind of like Monday Night Raw. It's just there. It's just there. More of the same in each film that it just doesn't develop anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Apparently this week was good though, but we won't go into that. This week was good. I can confirm this week actually. This week was more Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe than it was Voyage of the Dawn Treader. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Right. Okay. My number 9. This was always going to come up for me. I'm a massive foodie. I love my chocolate, so I had to bring in the Chocolate Factory from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You know what? I'm not going to lie. It was the one that I wasn't sure if it could work. Obviously, it's a fantasy location, unless someone's going, oh, Cadbury's World in Birmingham. Yes, I get that. Okay, Oompa Loompa. Yeah, no, exactly. But I was more like a location as opposed to a building. Like, I covered it in movies about building, and it kept coming in my head. And I was like, yeah, it's set in the UK. But yeah, I left it purposely because of that. But no, but 100%. I'm not going to dispute it. If it was in my list, it'd actually be higher, if I'd be honest. There's literally a song that emphasizes that it's fantasy. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Bro, I've got no qualms with it. It's a building as opposed to an area. That was my only thing. There's literal golden goose eggs. There's candy there's candy that puts you in a TV. There's candy that makes you big and purple. There's bubbly. It's a world of it. The building is a world of its own. Without a shadow of a doubt. So I just was like, it's set in the UK essentially. It's a factory, and that's why I was like, it's a factory, not an area. That was my qualm, but yeah. A factory is an area, though. Of course it is.
This I have no beef. Like,
Yeah, see, the thing is that you were very, very generous with the word location when
bro, I
you
know.
named the top 10. So
Listen, if I'm
location
honest,
can be anything. So there's
if I'm
not
honest,
really any discussion to be
have
had.
you got anything superhero based?
Of course.
Okay, like DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Okay, Fortress of Solitude was also one that I thought looked pretty cool, but I left it off. Like, yeah.
Themyscira could have been one.
So, but anyway, we'll leave that because
Krypton could have been one.
Which one?
Krypton.
Yeah, of course. Not that Krypton looked great in many of the films I've seen. TV show.
Man of Steel.
True. I'll give you that. I was thinking Christopher Reeve.
No.
That Krypton had not much interest for me. Yeah.
No. So yeah, 10 Narnia, 9 Willy Wonka, and I won't hear the argument of that it's not fantasy. I've just broken down.
No. It wasn't a fantasy. It was the form of location. I saw areas.
You. I mean, people listening or people.
Oh, shut up! It's a world of its own. No.
There you go.
No, listen, that's 100% there.
This one's going to need some justifying on my part because technically the name of the place I'm about to mention is actually a real place. So I'm going to need to break this one down quite methodically.
Let me guess. Springfield, The Simpsons.
You're not far off.
I know.
South Park. You're not far off at all. There is naturally I'm going to leave this image up for a few minutes if you're watching, just because
you need to research it. Go on, be honest.
No, I just think the image speaks volumes. Like if you look along the back, AJ, you're watching the image with me now. Den the Tech, I see you're live. If you look on the left-hand side, you've got kind of like the pilgrim. Do you see around the pilgrim's feet? You got those little creatures. Those are called the woodland critters. Just to the right of that, you've got Professor Chaos. Just further to the right, you've got Starvin Marvin. Then you've got Towley, who is a dope smoking towel. Right at the back, you've got the devil, who in the movie, which is what the Movie Mount Rushmore podcast is all about, was making love to Saddam Hussein. You've of course got Terrence and Phillip, the farting Canadian stand-up artist. You've got Santa fighting Jesus Christ. You've got, I mean, we could go on forever name dropping.
We're just breaking down the whole community. Like, what's the point?
I am, but the fact of the matter is that South Park that exists in Colorado, the real South Park, doesn't have this. Although it's rooted in reality because it's depictions of youngsters in as the movie says, a quiet mountain town. The shit that happens in this film, there's just no way you can't say it's
fantastic. Here's my real question. And it's because you know how much I've actually not watched South Park. Do they actually call it South Park, Colorado?
They acknowledge that it's in Colorado.
Okay.
Hang on, what do you mean not fantasy? Den the Cook says not fantasy. Sorry, it's animation.
I love that Den the Cook. He's the tech, not the cook.
Then the cook. Then the cook. That? Why can something that is a fantasy depiction not be? Why can something animation that's depicting something fantasy not be fantasy? I'll leave you a moment to answer, and I appreciate there's like a 60-second delay on comments coming through. But it doesn't matter what this is important. It doesn't matter what medium something is presented in. That's like saying because it's written in a comic book, it's not fantasy. Because Tolkien wrote a certain topic, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, because it's in a book, it's not fantasy. An animation is just a form of a movie.
I mean, the only part I would put an argument to, and I don't want to like ruin your parade, is like you see that Springfield, there are multiple Springfields in the US, and it was never directly confirmed which one, so it could have been a Springfield of its own. It's a multiverse Springfield, if you would. The fact that they kind of acknowledge Colorado kind of makes it like, because put it this way, by proxy, then are you allowed to say the New York depicted by Stan Lee in the Avengers? Like, it's touch and go.
That's a good argument.
It's touch and go.
Then the tech comes back with real city in the US. Yeah, as I said, it is a real city, but the way that this... Okay, here's one for you. Have you seen the movie Reign of Fire with Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey? It has dragons in it.
But this is the thing.
That nearly made the list for me. dragon-infested London. I don't give a fuck that it's in London. It's got dragons, therefore it's fantasy.
But it's fantasy set in a real location. So when we done cities outside of the UK, those could have been there because it's based in the, it's something based outside of the US.
You're gonna make me change, aren't you?
I'm actually oh, here we go. Is Dan saying something else?
He's a good one, AJ.
Thank you very much, bro. Like,
you know what? I'll drop this one. It doesn't need a banner because it's something that we've spoken about. Is it fantasy? I was gonna say the Wasteland from Mad Max Fury Road and then move swiftly on. But I suppose that's the future, isn't it? Here's one. Just pull this one out my ass. The Never-Ending Story.
This I can listen to. Even The Princess Bride, if you wish.
Hang on. Whoa. Not a fantasy. Spider-Man is fantasy, says Den the Tag.
Well, where are we going?
Then that falls into my argument then. Oh, he means that New York's not a fantasy. Spider-Man inhibiting New York is a fantasy. I see what you mean.
Okay, right. Yeah. Right.
I'm with you. Yeah, let's go with The Never-Ending Story. The story.
Princess Bride, whichever one you wish.
Thank you, AJ. Let's do Princess Bride. I love that movie.
There you go. I got you.
Let's do Princess Bride. I love that film. So, Princess Bride, I do not have any fucking thumbnail ready for it, so my apologies. But yeah, this is as fantasy as it gets. Giants, shrieking eels, swordsmen, pirates, giant rats, six-fingered men. It's great. It's wonderful. AJ, we've spoken about Princess Bride so many times on this podcast. I'm not going to go deep into it now. What is your number 10?
As you wish. Right. Okay. Hey. There you go. Yeah, to put it in at number 10 was one of those that just had to be done. And to be fair, if you press the thumbnail, you know where I'm going. Emerald City, aka Oz, the Yellow Brick Road. It's just one of those areas that how could you not talk about fantasy without going back to probably one of the earliest forms of a fantasy land going? Dorothy.
The first ever fantasy in color.
Yeah, in Technicolor, indeed. There you go. Dorothy clicked those red heels and those red shoes, and there she was. Kansas just seemed a lot.
What have we
Actually, no, that was how she got back. It was the tornado that took her off. And yeah, she followed that Yellow Brick Road. It's one of those things. I've got that image there. Fan of Wizard of Oz. Even bigger fan of Oz, the Mighty and Powerful, which I know didn't get
powerful.
Great and Powerful. Again, don't want to talk about it too much because Oz is a cancelled actor as we speak. But yeah, it's
hang on. Whoa. What now?
Oz is a cancelled actor. JF, Planet of the Apes, Spider-Man.
James Franco. Hang on, what does he have to do with Oz?
He was Oz in Oz the Great and Powerful.
I haven't seen Oz the Great and Powerful.
That's what I said. I'm a fan of the Wizard of Oz. A bigger fan of
James Franco's in the original Wizard of Oz. I'm like, dude's aged well.
He must have been at least minus 45. If not more. I even go for minus 60. But yeah, it's again kind of like what you say with Princess Bride, and we've done Wizard of Oz so many different times. It's just that world, the flying monkeys, the Wicked Witch of the West, and it's got everything. It's there.
Munchkins.
And Munchkins. And to be fair, it's 10, 9, and 8 are all very similar for me, and that's why they kind of like a little milli, if you would. And in at number 9, I don't know if you're going to call punt, maybe you didn't forget it.
I'm ready.
I'm talking Wonderland.
Do you know what? I actually forgot about this. I've got another Disney which I can bring in a bit later, but I'd argue this is probably better than the one I've got.
Do you know what? Even now I've done it and I've pressed it and I was like, I still put it in the wrong order. I'm not going to lie. And I think you may be punting on it. The Wonderland, to me, Wonderland was portrayed nicely in the movie and through the looking glass. It was seen nicely. It was a bit weird, but I still prefer the original animation. The Cheshire Cat is absolutely golden. It's dark, but it's magical.
So dark. This is what I found so funny is that Tim Burton really tried to make his depiction of Wonderland gritty and gothic and dark. but the tone of it was all wrong, you know. And ultimately, the animation, which you're referring to, ended up being so much more macabre and sinister than anything Burton ever put out. You know, the tone. And here's an example of what I mean by the tone. The Red Queen in the animation was a legitimate sociopath. In this one, she was a narcissistic sociopath, an absolute nutter.
Yeah.
This one, she was almost...
even the Cheshire Cat. As much as you love him, the way he vanishes and appears is very, very creepy. The cat.
Walrus and the Carpenter. Talk to me about them. Murdering child killers. You know, it's like, what the fuck? Well, the Walrus was. The Carpenter was a good guy in hindsight. Or was he jealous that the Walrus had eaten everything and not left him any? Discuss.
That just sounds like a psychology lesson. Like, there are so many levels and layers to that one. That could actually be.
It's just something that I've always thought and kind of kept stum, because the world seems to be convinced that the Carpenter was angry that the Walrus ate everyone. But I was like, if you look at that scene, he was slicing the bread. Like, he wasn't gonna make marmalade. You know what I mean? It's like that bread was getting ready for something. Like, for me, the Carpenter was about to do the dirty. He's just pissed there was no dinner left for him.
Fair play.
My take.
But no.
But the original.
There's so much magic in Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, there's so much magic in it, and it's kind of freaky, but still enjoyable at the same time. And it's weird, it's quirky. Everything comes to life. Everything is living. You know, it's not just inanimate objects there, and that's what makes it so special. Even the cards coming to life. You know, the Queen's.
Oh, the caterpillar.
Of course, the caterpillar. The caterpillar is
so good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good. Well, nice pull. Very nice.
That has always been one of my favorite lines when it comes to Alice in Wonderland. So yeah, that's why I went for the image.
It's precisely this. Very good.
Nice. So that was, and that's my number 9. And then in at number 8 is the third in this mystical world where everything seems to come alive, and it is Disney. But I'm looking for live action in this one.
Okay.
I'm talking Neverland. Hook. I went for Hook, but it could also be Peter Pan, because Neverland is that fantastic land that is.
Okay, so I'm not going to punt you because it's my number 7, Neverland.
Fair enough. Okay,
mermaids, pirates. Although, so racist.
Let's just stick with Hook.
What makes the red man red?
Let's stick with Hook. Rufio.
1, 2, 3. Oh.
That was less racist. Disney. What can you do?
Dude, there is some shit that has not aged well.
Do you know one thing that I think has got away with it over time? Because people still kind of play it, but you never see people do the dance out. It's ultra offensive. That 80s song, what is that? Oh yeah, my God, that's well gone. Thank God for that. But that 80s song, Walk Like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
That was another one, you know, when trying to imply that people are, that was like, how dare you?
Bro, even later, it was later than that. What year was it the Aristocats came out?
Yeah.
That was like early 90s, and they've got this they didn't even get their racism on point in this one, because they had the Siamese cats, Siam obviously being ancient Thailand, but they're still called Siamese cats. So they had the Siamese cats with chopsticks. Now, for those of you who aren't well versed in Asia, the Thais don't really use chopsticks. It's this common misconception that in Thailand you really don't. They know how to use them. Like there is the odd dish where a chopstick is used in Thailand. And by the way, if you're visiting Thailand, this will get you massive props with the locals. Fork and spoon. No knife.
Right.
Fork and
Question.
spoon. Please.
Well, first of all, you said Aristocats, which was 1970.
Oh,
but
was
I'm
it
going to
70?
intervene.
Fair.
But also, it was Lady and the Tramp, no?
No, there were the two Siamese cats and Lady and the Tramp going, "We are Siamese."
Just as bad.
I mean, I don't know, but hang on. I love Hook. Make way for the hook. Yes, again.
God, I love that.
No, it's this Siamese cat using chopsticks, playing the piano in the Aristocats, and no word of a lie. The line goes, "Swing my Hong Kong yong fu yong, fortune cookie always wrong." It's like, oh dear, fuck, oh shit, oh dear.
There are some stuff that is just inexcusable.
There is some Disney shit that has not aged well. Now, it's very good that at the beginning of Dumbo on Disney Plus, they say some shit on
We done fucked up. We done fucked up. Yeah.
There are some racist crows in this one. Well, I say, well, goddamn, my boy, I say. Okay. You
But
also
this is the thing. Have they done it for the other films?
This is the point. You need to do that public service announcement for some other Disney films. I don't care that they're more recent. Even more reason to do it that they're more recent. So we acknowledge that racism still isn't that far removed from us, and we need to be that much more aware. But yeah, Hook's awesome. Let's just stay away from what makes the red man red. And although I have to say, do you know,
there's a bit more magic in animation.
Has always, I don't know if you feel this way. Hook for me has always felt like the sequel to the Disney animation. Always.
Yes.
He's older, and they're referencing things in that which granted it from the book, but if you've seen the animation, it's a continuation thread of that.
Of course.
You know, like when he finds the tree where the hideout was, the fact that Wendy is older. You know, it's a clear continuation of what that animation was, and that's, for me, they're kind of same story thread.
Which is nice. This is what was always magical about Hook. I mean, okay, the crocodile could have been something different as opposed to this giant stuff.
The crocodile's a continuation. He got the crocodile in the end, clearly, didn't he?
Well, yes. But it was just like something I'm going to reference earlier. It was a bit too big, but hey, we won't get into that.
He's a big boy.
You've been looking around King Kong.
Yeah, I'm surprised he just got your hand. Like, you're lucky to have an arm.
You could have actually taken your boat with that size.
Yeah, legit.
But apart from that, it's cool. So yeah,
I love the croc in the animation. That do. So good, so good. You've got to love that old school stuff. So that was your 8 and my 7.
Yeah.
My 6. Let's bring in the Marvel stuff. I could have picked a number of them here. I've gone with Thor Ragnarok's Asgard.
It just missed the list, if I'm honest. Asgard was on it's an honorable that I haven't uploaded, if I'm honest, because I've uploaded a couple of images, but that one I didn't. Yeah.
I feel that until Ragnarok, Asgard was kind of just in the background. Like, we never saw enough of it. I'd argue that even in Ragnarok, there wasn't enough of Asgard. Like, they didn't build the world to the degree where some of my other movies built the worlds, which we're going to discuss, which is why it's my number 6 and not higher. Because if you look at Ragnarok, it's arguably better than some of the locations of the movies I'm going to talk about later on in the list. But the world wasn't as fleshed out as the others. I didn't know enough about the world. What I did like, though, was it implied in Ragnarok. You know, we got more about the Bifrost, we got more of the Rainbow Road, we got more of, you know, the Asgard. We got a greater understanding of the history of what was going on with the gods and their wars at different realms. So
only problem you have with that is by the end of that film, we learn that Asgard is not a place, it's a people. So I don't know if that would. I'm joking. I'm taking the piss.
So easy to come back on that one, but yeah.
No, but yeah, continue. No.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add than that. It's beautiful. I think it's a really good depiction of how one would imagine a mythical Norse god realm looking like.
Yeah.
So much so. It's actually, here's a funny thing. I don't know if you watched the PlayStation showcase that was on.
I haven't.
You're a fucking idiot, but that's the show stealer for that. What wrapped up the show was God of War Ragnarok. Now, God of War, which used to be set in Greece, which is now a minor tangent onto video games, but it's irrelevant, so bear with me, was set in ancient Greece. Then the character Kratos moved to ancient Scandinavia, Norseland, I guess they would call it Norseland. Very good. And in this trailer, what was teased at the end of the first God of War on the last game was Thor's arrival, but you just saw the hammer, right? In this trailer, they actually showed you Thor, and Thor is not a beautiful, handsome, chiseled, sculpted, blonde Aussie man. He's a big, fat boy with massive arms. Like he's chunk, but he's like a tank. He's kind of like a Keith Lee, to give you context. But then they had
kind of.
Yeah, it's like that he may be a bit rotund, but he's still solid, right? And there was actually from a lot of corners of the internet an outcry going, "That's not what Thor's meant to look like," because people have bought into this image of what Asgard and what Thor is now because of Marvel. So it's definitely become part of modern pop culture, this specific depiction of Norse mythology and of Asgard. Quick fun story though, they actually had a IGN had an interview with this Norse historian, this Norse expert. Essentially, he could read ancient Nordic, like that deep, and he said, actually what the game's got is far more accurate to the way Thor's been described in mythology throughout history than what Marvel ever have. So apparently it's not the first time we see it, is it? Because there was also a rotund Thor in a little indie darling movie called Avengers Endgame. He's a big boy.
Oh, that thing. I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
That little thing. You might have seen it. Yeah. But apparently that Thor more accurate to real life. Who'd have known? But yeah, Asgard, my number 6. What's your number 7?
Interesting. Great. That's quite interesting. And also, can I say, I was going to put something else out. The Viking Raiders, bit of wrestling thing. They live that life. They actually live that Viking life, and they're quite rotund as opposed to chiseled. But anyway, that's another story. In at number 7 for me is, yes, you can visit it in a studio, Diagon Alley. Now, it's a weird one because there are...
Before you continue, I have something from this same universe, but it's not Diagon Alley. Do we talk about the individual locations, or do we bind the franchises when we get to my point?
We can do it because I'm only going to justify. So you can call it a punt if you want.
Okay. Punt.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so that was my number 7. And in at number 6 is my comic book reference. Is it coming up?
It's up.
Is it showing for you?
It is showing for
Wakanda. Me. There we are. It's up. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So Wakanda forever. That's the one. Throw it up, bro. Throw it up. There we are. Do you know what it is? It's the contrast and the mythical side to it that it has. That it has all this. On the outside surface, they've got one thing. You pass the barrier, it's got this ultra technology world, technological world. It's very far advanced, and that's what really caught me with it. I like the contrast, especially when, again, something we've always mentioned in our discussions. When people picture Africa, they picture the Oxfam commercials. People starving and hungry, and this showed the beauty and the richness of what Africa actually probably has in real life. Like, I've seen some stuff from Nigeria, and I'm like, wow, like where is that? It's almost like Nigeria. I was like, wow, I didn't know this was there. And like Wakanda, even if we're going to go into the whole fantasy about it all, a world powered on vibranium is just absolutely amazing. The way you can 3D your vehicles and your planes and everything, I just think it's absolutely amazing. It's all kinds of cool. There's so much more to break it down. It's got this invisible fortress. It's got it all.
It's beautiful, but that within Wakanda there were certain elements of their culture which fundamentally didn't sit right with me, just because of how human society evolves. You don't have that. I'm not going to go into it now because, no. Do you know what? I'm not going into it. You and me have had this discussion. I've told you what I feel. I'm not opening myself up to the backlash because people won't hear what I'm saying. All they're going to hear is racism. So I'm not going into it. Basically, this movie's become untouchable. You can't even begin to critique it without some butt boy on the internet going racism.
This is somewhat fair. So we'll leave it there for fairness.
Yeah, I can't critique this movie objectively. I did think Wakanda was beautiful.
Yeah, but and this is what we're talking about.
Will not miss an opportunity to say R.I.P. Chadwick.
Amen.
Although,
Indeed.
best depiction of Black Panther we have was in Civil War, not Black Panther. Come at
me.
I
said that. But I've always said Black Panther should have been called Wakanda because it wasn't about T'Challa. It was about the people of Wakanda. So make of that what you will.
Yep.
I've always said that. Okay. So that was my number 6. Your number 5.
Okay. We are now trading one apiece. Right. My number 5 is going to surprise you not so much, but it might surprise a few people. It's from the galaxy far, far away. It's from Star Wars. Now, I'm not going to say straight away which. No, fuck it, I will.
Please don't say Tatooine because that has sand. I hate sand.
Thank you. Okay. Let's go into this now then. Let's go into
I was taking the piss.
No. You're spot on because in terms of the iconicity, obviously Tatooine, Jabba's palace, the Sarlacc pit, Mos Eisley, the cantina, the first time you see the Millennium Falcon. There are so many iconic set pieces that take place on Tatooine. The 2 suns, which just do not fuck off for the entirety of the Star Wars franchise, right? Would you really want to live there?
So Den has made a prediction. Should I play it before you say it?
No, I've just seen it. Den is AJ. You can play it. Get ready to play it in 3, 2, 1, bang. Yes, Naboo.
To be fair, that's what was going to make my list. When I thought of Star Wars, that was the area that came into my mind as well.
Right. Now, we're not talking about which the best movie is. That obviously, when it comes to Star Wars, would go to either episode 4 or 5. There's no question about that. Some people have a leaning to others. That's absolutely fine. Wonderful thing about movies, we all have a difference of opinion. However, I still remember being at the cinema in 2001 when this came out and I still can't quite get my head around people saying that, the effects in that film weren't good. I'm like, are you fucking out of your mind? They still look good even now. Like, yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful.
It was, though. It was stunning.
It is.
Stunning. What they did with that planet was wonderful. Above the water, you have to fucking take the Gungans and and all that, right? He's an annoying fuck. Although I do maintain that with the right type of management, you could put him in a comedy club and have a great laugh with him. Just needs a bit of direction, as do all the Gungans. But Naboo, of all the Star Wars planets, is just hands down the prettiest. Who wouldn't want to live there? I mean, even Padme says, "Hey, I'd like to raise my kids here, Annie." Yeah, the dialogue wasn't good, but when she said that, I was like, yeah, it's either here or Tatooine, and I know which I'd rather live in.
There's a strong argument.
What's the worst thing you have to deal with on Naboo? Gungans. And most of the time, especially after this episode 1, they're more or less passive and funny. What's the worst thing you have to deal with in Tatooine? How long do you have? It's not a good place. So, yeah, there are so many. You could have talked about Dagobah with Yoda, but again, really want to live there. It's a swamp planet. Like, fuck that.
Literal swamp planet.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, Hoth. Yeah, ice. It's just an ice planet. Bespin. Well, here's the thing. We've never really seen Bespin in Star Wars. We've seen Cloud City. That's above Bespin, but the planet itself is kind of an unknown quantity as far as visuals are concerned. And yeah, it has to be Naboo. And I know it's going to be an unpopular decision because it's not, it belongs to a part of the franchise that most people at best have got lukewarm feelings about. I am on record, and I have no shame in it, being a massive defender of episode 1. I think it is an underappreciated Star Wars movie. Big time underappreciated Star Wars movie. And I think if you find it boring, I think it's minor judgment, but I feel you're kind of missing the point. Because
the funny thing?
It all started
with
trade disagreements. And what's wrong with that? That's how the war started. AJ, you are frozen.
Yeah.
And you are frozen looking oh so funny. Ah, you're back. Hello. You may speak.
Yeah.
Nope, you're frozen again. AJ, why don't are you there? Are you there? Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here. Are we good?
I got you. You're back now.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I knocked out Star Wars all in one go, you know. And honestly, I didn't think it was that bad when I revisited it because I saw episode 1 in the cinema, and I was like, I'm not sure. Watched it again, and I was like, it's not that bad. Yes, the Gungans. I the same way we talk about the racism with the crows and whatnot. I think the Gungans need readdressing. Like it's no, honestly, Star Wars is one of those. Star Wars is low key racist. Like you've even got the Far Eastern type, yes, you know, like where they're taking the piss where they are. Like it's bad. But if we're going to appreciate the planet, Naboo's a beauty, and I don't think episode 1 is as bad as it's been made out to be. I have way bigger beefs in that film franchise.
So much, but there are people. Legitimately, there are so many corners of the internet. We're not going to go into a massive Star Wars rant again, but there are so many corners of the internet that place this as their worst Star Wars movie, and I'm just like, how?
No.
I feel bad for people that don't see
no film built so much anger in me than episode 3.
Unlimited power.
He was just building into that, and it just felt so unexplained why he was becoming more and more like out of control, and the voice was just getting higher and higher pitch. And I was like, "What is this guy doing?" Like, no. It's just no. It was very, very wrong. Yeah, but yeah, credit to you for Naboo. I like that.
Thank you. I stick to my guns. What's your number 5?
Right, my number 5 was an animation. I think we done this when we done DreamWorks. I can't remember when it came up, but anyway, saw it due to silver screen dudes. I'm talking The Lost Land of El Dorado.
El Dorado, yeah, nice shout.
Yeah. Before we go any further,
Den says it was too slow. I'm assuming that's a reference.
I thought that, but I don't have mega arguments. That's obviously to do with episode 1, not El Dorado.
On a quick side note of that, I think when a movie has a great payoff, you can forgive it for questionable pacing. Rogue One, amazing payoff, wasn't the best pace. The first Godzilla movie that Gareth Edwards directed, slowly paced. Fuck me, the payoff was good though. There are a lot of movies like that where I think if you're deliberately building to a great crescendo, and it's how you take them in, essentially. You know, I'm perceiving it as George Lucas was building to this great set piece at the end, and I think he knocked it out the park. Duel of the Fates with the double-ended lightsaber. Give me that all day long. Love it.
Can't argue with that.
Over to
right. So back to El Dorado. Yeah. What's not to love about El Dorado? The sun's always shining. The streets are made of gold. Am I back?
I can hear you, but you do keep freezing.
Am I back?
I'm happy. Yeah, see, you can't even hear me now. I'm happy to vamp for a minute if you want to change your internet routers as you normally do.
Come again?
I said I'm happy to vamp for a minute if you want to quickly change your internet routers. You want to tell me what you're doing? Oh, he's just stopped. Welcome to the Movie Mount Rushmore, the podcast with two best friends who don't plan shit and who just make it up as they go along. Fine, he's left me alone. You know what? Bye, AJ. I'm going full screen. Hi, everyone. Double V, the Viceroy Verisimilitude right here. As I've said at the top of the show, here's me buying time, by the way. As I've said at the top of the show, if you are new, we're available on all podcast platforms, both iOS and Android. And I believe AJ's back now, which has just made my life so easy. Hi, AJ. Welcome back to the Movie Mount Rushmore.
Thank you very much. So I'm now on phone data. I used to have such good internet in this area, and it's now playing up, which is really bugging me. But yeah, I was just saying, what is not to love about El Dorado? Like the streets are made of gold. Like everyone is so friendly. There was nothing to hate of this area. It was just it's what happens when, I don't want to say the Western world, but when greed doesn't take the best of you. That's the beauty of El Dorado. It was just an untouched land that just had everything grateful and to be appreciative of, and all it just required to you is not be greedy, and you had the riches of the world to enjoy. which they learnt themselves essentially.
Some would say it's a real place.
Some could. I would ask you to show me where. And they would say, "Oh, the Aztec," But until there's an official place, I would go.
The appropriate comeback for that would have been, some also believe the Earth is flat. Let's move on.
Yeah, and do you know what I'd like about flat earthers? They've got fans all around the world.
Around.
So we shall move on. Around the world. There we go. So that was my number 5. What's your number 4, sir?
My number 4, from the mind of James Cameron, I had to bring in Pandora from Avatar.
I'm going to have to call punt.
Okay, punt it is. What is your number 4?
So my number 4 was actually going to be my number 1, and then I started more and more Pandora. Anyway, yeah, I swapped numbers around. I'm talking, and I'm guessing this is a punt. I'm saying the Shire from Middle-earth itself, but that's what I'm
punt.
With.
Punt.
Yeah, okay. So your number 3?
That was fun. My number 3. Okay, this is one I've told you repeatedly to watch. Now, we all know about DreamWorks. We all know about Disney, of course, being the powerhouse animation. We all know about Pixar, obviously, is the modern day powerhouse of animation. Many corners of the internet appreciate the mastery that comes out of Japan. And I'm not talking fucking Dragon Ball or any of that, manga.
Studio Ghibli, right?
Studio Ghibli, correct. Now, there's a number of Ghibli products I could have pulled here. I'm going to go with the one that, to this day, is the only Japanese animation movie to ever win Best Animation at the Oscars. It's still, I believe, the highest grossing animation film of all time. I believe that to be true. And yeah, if we were talking pure scope of imagination, nothing other than maybe my number 1 tops this. But my number 3, I had to go with the bathhouse from Spirited Away. Oh, now.
I'm going to have to add that to my list again. It might well be on the list. It rings a bell.
Spirited Away, it's famous, mate. It's super famous. It's on Netflix. Like the entire for you, AJ, and for everyone watching, the entire Studio Ghibli collection is available on Netflix. So I invite people at their own pace to go and enjoy the work of one of the finest movie makers to ever grace the planet in Hayao Miyazaki-san. Wow. Thank you, Dan. Great pick. I just cannot emphasize on how many levels this movie will resonate with people as a visual feast. The color palette they use is beautiful. Thematically, the depiction of gluttony, the depiction of greed, something that's very prevalent in Japan. The representation of work being something that's toxic, which, remember, Japan is, this is very sad to say, but there's no country in the world that has a higher suicide rate than the Japanese. And that's because of this ridiculous work ethic that the Japanese have. There's that famous line from Whiplash with J.K. Simmons, when J.K. Simmons says, "There's no 2 words that are more destructive in the English language than good job." The Japanese believe that to such a degree, I can't tell you. Like, you can go, like kind of what you do at work. Like, you, as a given, always go above and beyond, and you always seem to work later than you should, and you don't always necessarily get the pay for it. I'm looking at you employers. Pay the man if he's working longer hours. Just saying. But
do you know what? While we're talking of my employment, quick shout out to Molly, who is a big podcast fan and said she'll be tuning in. So there we are.
Hey,
not today, probably not live. Hey, yeah. But she'll probably be checking us out on Spotify. But yes, continue. Well,
please
yeah.
Please check us out. And Molly, welcome to the family. Now, you at least get recognition when you stay there. Yeah. You've told me that your boss gives you the recognition. You may want the finances, but at least you get the recognition. You don't get shit in Japanese society when it comes to work. Like, if you go above and beyond, that's expected of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's the standard.
So there's depictions of this which are perfection in how you have to come at this almost from a Japanese mindset. Don't get me wrong. If you're not well versed, if you're not a Japanophile and you're not well versed in Japan, you won't have as great an appreciation for some of the subtleties and nuances in the movie. Don't let that deter you. That doesn't mean for a second that you will not have the appreciation for this movie. I've never, ever seen something which has got such a... It's like nothing else. That's what's fascinating. You know, you look at other animations, and even if you're relating them to live action things, you say, oh, okay, cool. That's a nice touch. That got idea from there. And it can work in reverse too. It's like, oh, that movie clearly got that idea from this animation, right? We do it all the time. There is nothing in the world like Spirited Away. Never has been, and I don't think there ever will be. The fucking mental imagination of Hayao Miyazaki knows no bounds. And if you are well versed in Japan and you are a Japanophile, you'll appreciate things like the Torii Gates. You'll appreciate the things like the Kajima. You know, you'll appreciate all of these wonderful Japanese mythologies that come to life. It top to bottom, this film really is a modern masterpiece. It really, really is.
So I'm going to just cut you on one thing. You said at your own leisure. Guys, at times Netflix do get rid of stuff. So let's embrace it while we can, because it sounds like an absolute wonder and marvel. And it's something it's always good to appreciate.
All of Ghibli's
this is what I'm saying. It's good to appreciate cinema that's not your regular cinema. You know, when I say that, regular Western cinema, should I be more precise in saying? So something to expand. You know, we're all about the edutainment here on the Movie Mount Rushmore. That's what the silver screen dudes live for. So like, yeah, take that edutainment somewhere else. I will catch up with it. I will, especially now that it's on Netflix.
You've seen Grave of the Fireflies, haven't you?
I have indeed.
Yeah, same animation style. So if you love that, you'll love this. It's nowhere near as sad. Don't worry. Don't worry.
That was mushy as hell, man. Damn. That one is
the greatest movie you'll only ever see once.
Yeah,
once.
I could probably agree with that.
It's a heartbreaker.
It hard hit, and just the voice they nailed it. Even in dubbed, to be honest, it's like the emotion is just like ooh,
it's brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spirited Away is my number 3. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is either a punt or you may have forgotten it. Now, before I start this, I want people to say, had shit gone well? So what this island encompasses, not what the movie was about. I've
forgotten it because my next 2 movies are both punts. So carry on.
Okay, right, fair enough. So I'm talking nothing more than Jurassic Park. The chance to have been able... What?
I don't want to shoot you down on Jurassic Park 2 weeks in a row, but
I actually thought this would be my defense this week. It wasn't even on my list, and then I added it to the list because I'm like, why would Jurassic Park not work? A chance to have a safari with dinosaurs.
What's fantasy about it?
The sheer fact of what you knocked it for last week, the dinosaurs.
Sci-fi.
Well, please don't make us go into this sci-fi versus fantasy argument.
Sci-fi
is a byproduct of fantasy, please.
No, I disagree. It's sci-fi is, I view it as reality of the future. It's a science that isn't quite attainable to us and most likely will not be attainable to us in this lifetime, but it's intrinsically linked to our existing reality. So much so that you can see the direction in which our science is going. We're already talking about manipulating the human genome. We're already talking about cloning. We're already talking about bringing shit back to life. Like, this isn't that far removed. That's why it falls for me under science fiction, because it's science of the future, and fantasy for me. So reality of the future is science fiction. Fantasy is beyond reality. That's why I've always said Star Wars, although it has elements of sci-fi because it's in space, which people fucking link to sci-fi.
Have to be, I agree that it doesn't have to be space. So here we go, because it was my pick. At point 3, as opposed to anywhere higher or lower, should I say, it's become top 10 fictional locations, right? Because it's based on fiction. Now are we okay? Screw you, Dan. I really thought he had my back, man. He's knocked both of us out. Yeah, fair play.
Bro, I don't want to do you dirty on Jurassic Park twice, and I'm sure Andy Hart is going to be laughing his ass off 2 weeks in a row because he enjoyed the banter last week. But you got to be real. The idea of bringing something to life or bringing a species back, which was either eliminated pre-humankind or during humankind, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. It's not.
Thought I had it this week.
I'm not talking. No. So let me be clear. I do not. You can't use dead DNA like Jurassic Park did. I'm not talking.
No, we're not getting into that. We're not getting into the science behind it.
No, but there are people who are pedantic. I don't want people to listen to the podcast and go, well, actually, you can't use the blood of a dead mosquito, so it is. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about the concept of August Fernandez Britos is back. Hola.
Hey, dude, how you doing? Welcome back, bro. So
great to see you, August. But look, I am talking about the idea of gene manipulation. I'm talking about the idea of bringing something back from the dead. That isn't beyond what we're talking about right now. And I certainly don't believe it's beyond humankind to bring a load of animals back from the dead and put them in a fucking theme park. So for me, Jurassic Park falls hard into sci-fi. Like, for me, there's nothing fantasy about it. Like, nothing. Other than the fact that it was Dr. Hammond's fantasy to, jerk off a T-Rex before he bit the dust, It's like he wanted to bring dinosaurs back from the dead, but it's not a fantasy movie. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't get on board with that.
It was the location as opposed to story, which I kicked off
with. Costa Rica, bro. How is this a fantasy location? It's Costa Rica.
It's an island of its own, no? It's not just Costa Rica. Just
two islands, Isla Sorna and Isla Nublar. They're islands off of Costa Rica. No, if I'm not having South Park, you're sure as hell not having Jurassic Park.
Again, this was the zoo, which essentially is more of, it doesn't matter the location, that zoo does not exist. That was my point. But I will eliminate it and we'll just use it as Princess Bride because I really can't be bothered to bring up it. I could bring up one of my honorables. Screw it. I will bring up my honorable. It's coming in 2 seconds. Here we go. Right. This one hit me. Just wait for my upload to take place. Bear in mind, I'm using mobile data, so it's taking a bit extra time. Screw it. I'm just going to say it because it's taking forever to load. There it is. Bang. Themyscira, the one place that every man would love to visit but can't. Do I need to say any more? Look at the picture. It's no parks. Well played.
Very good.
This is why I love lives, because that was the best. That was the best response ever. No parks. So yeah, Themyscira, the wonderful Greek mythological island inhabited by nothing but Amazon princesses and queens, goddesses, essentially. Yeah, an amazing place, amazing backdrop. Seen in Wonder Woman 1. I gave up on Wonder Woman 84, so I wouldn't even know if they show Themyscira or not. Like, there was 2 minutes of it. The
Wonder Woman Themyscira, actually, the whole opening of Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, I was going to say the opening was pretty cool, where we see Diana doing her trials. That was amazing. That was mega cool. After that, I gave up on.
Oh man, the movie took a nosedive after that. Fuck me.
It just felt like this ultimate cheese fest, which really killed me because of how much I've waved the flag for Wonder Woman.
First one's great.
It just end villain was the only downfall in that one. This one just felt like you give me a great opening and then you tanked. I will go back to it because it's something I need to do, but. My God,
I just find it impossible to believe that this was a Patty Jenkins movie, Wonder Woman 84.
It hurt me. It really did, because I had nothing but good words for Patty Jenkins, and this it just felt like when we just before that we said this woman could do no wrong, and bang, there it was. You proved us wrong like instantly by next movie. That's what hurt. That's what hurt with this. But hey, there we go. So Themyscira was my number 3.
Themyscira is a good shout. I can't really argue with that. My number 2. So it's from the world that we punted on earlier. My number 2. I'm bringing in Hogwarts from Harry Potter. It's every. I get why you went Diagon Alley. I get it. But I had to do Hogwarts just because that's the one. And unlike with Tatooine, which people will say, well, actually in Star Wars, Tatooine's the one. It's like, yeah, but it sucks. Like Hogwarts, I could see myself living at. You get me? It's like there's magic, there's chocolate frogs, there's ghosts you can mess around with. You know, there's like werewolves and shit. There's centaurs you can make friends with. There's a lot of cool shit in Hogwarts. You know.
Hogwarts was like nearly my thing, but there's something about Hogwarts that, again, we talked about it at the beginning, where the books far outdo the movies.
So much.
The magic of Harry Potter felt so alive once he went through 9 3/4 was one, but when he had to go shopping and the magic of this area that felt so, it changed time period, if you would, and then everything that you would in it just became magical, and that's why I went for Diagon Alley over Hogwarts. That's what I felt. It just became a new world. It really gave you the chance to embrace that new world. Hogwarts is cool. It just looks like a, dare I say, old school boarding school, which essentially it is. So there's no point in arguing that. What you mentioned is more the surroundings of Hogwarts. Okay, you've got the moving stairs, you've got the talking pictures. Yeah, it's cool, but you're essentially exposed to parts of that on the train too, while he's shopping in Diagon Alley, and that's where I felt the magic was more. So,
I actually, do you know what? I actually really like that argument, because you're kind of right in a way that Diagon Alley is like when those bricks roll back and you actually see a complete street, like basically Oxford Street of wizards. And it's like every single shop is magical. Every single person is magical. But this is a no muggle territory. You know what I mean? It's like, this is, the movie, instead of whereby you had little sprinkles of magic here and there were moments that were peppered, like, you know, the thanks, the talking snake, the little tail on Dudley, and, you know, Hagrid and his, there was sprinkles of magic. This just it was like, let's go full magic. I see where you're coming from. And, you know, being introduced, they introduced so much of the world in that point. You are right. You know, Gringotts Bank, Ollivander's, where he gets his wand. I
love that. Hogwarts is dangerous, the alley is fun, which is true.
I mean, take a wrong turn down the alley, and you know.
But this is it. And the thing is, now that he who shan't be named is gone, it's quite a fun place to be in Hogwarts as well. So it's like everywhere.
Well, is it troll in the dungeon? I'm not sure.
Again, sent by he who shan't be named. So we're all kind of like working in it. It's like Chelsea. It can be a fun place to walk down. Take the wrong corner, you're in the wrong estate. You're in the World's End estate, and you really don't want to be there.
That's true.
I'm not joking.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. All right, yeah. So Hogwarts was my number 2. I don't need to justify why. It's the beating heart of the movie, essentially, as far as locations are concerned. And I include, by the way, the Forbidden Forest that's around it. That is
it's the surrounding grounds. It's really annoying that the land of Harry Potter isn't seen as one.
3-headed dogs. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, if Harry Potter had its own location, you could have just encompassed everything in one. You know, if it was, I don't want to say Magic Land, but essentially Magic Land, you could have had Diagon Alley as well as Hogwarts and Gringotts Bank. Like, it should have everything in one, but it's essentially the UK, just a part that Muggles can't see, which makes it very difficult which makes you have to separate it, which is annoying, even though it's all the same magic, just a different way of appreciating it.
I still find it mental looking back on those movies now, especially looking at part 4 and seeing the young Robert Pattinson. It's like, damn. You Batman now. Shit.
There's an upgrade for you.
And the world still thinks that you're Cedric Diggory and a shiny vampire because they haven't followed your career properly. Lol. They're in for a huge surprise when they see Batman, and they'll be like, oh, that Robert Pattinson's actually quite a good actor. No doy. You think?
Indeed.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right, so that was my
number 2.
Right, my number 2 was it's been depicted many times in many different films. So I've just got a very generic picture. I'm talking the underwater world of Atlantis. Now, I've just always found it mega cool to be this underwater village. So whether you want to make it The Little Mermaid, whether you want to make it Aquaman, whether you want to make it the film Atlantis, I don't really care. Like, Atlantis is that one common ground. That shit, Marvel and DC both use Atlantis. Whether you're talking Aquaman or Namor, where they live, Atlantis. Like, it's just mega cool. Some would say, "Oh, Dubai have now created their own Atlantis." Yes, but we're talking
you don't want to know about it.
Oh, there we go. Even more to the point. This is one that people can actually inhabit naturally. That's what you've seen in all the Atlantises in any form of fantasy film that you're watching.
Just an FYI, the guys in Dubai nicked that shit from Nassau and the Caribbean. They had the Atlantis first.
Thank you even further. Again, is that one to work about? Again, you can't physically live there as opposed to what happens in these fantasies that I've just mentioned. So that's what I really appreciate about Atlantis. I've always found it really cool. And they've always been visually stunning as well, dare I say.
Yes,
and that's what's always pushed. That's what pushed it really hard for me to be like, yeah, it's going to be my number 2. So
I do like that pick because what you've done there is Atlantis, as you've so rightfully said, is that it does permeate so many different movies. Like, you can go live action, you can go anime. Even within the realm of live action, it goes across multiple comic book brands. Like, it's listen, I don't know if I'd put it as high as 2, but I'll definitely listen to that.
The visual beauty,
dude, if you like it, you like it. Far be it for me to tell you you should not like that. It's beautiful. And if weirds me out though that you like Atlanta so much and you don't want to get down with the dolphins a bit more and see, come scuba diving.
Listen, I know what I appreciate and what my capabilities are 2 very different things. I like the idea of what Superman can do. I ain't flying, dude. It's just what it is.
I can teach you to dive. I've told you this.
I know this, but
no.
There are certain jokes I can make off pod that I shan't make on pod, but it's a bit like Jamaica entering the Winter Olympics. It doesn't really happen. Catch my drift. It did happen, but it's not the way of the way to Atlanta.
Bro, I like
so that was my number 2.
It's a nice shout. It's a very nice shout.
Thank you very much. What was your worst?
Right. My worst. I was brutally disappointed by this because I like dragons a lot. I think dragons are cool. But, man, I had to go Allegatia from Aragon. Just void, empty of anything. Do you know what it feels like? What Aragon feels like? I don't know if you've seen it or not. If you haven't,
no.
If you never see it, your life will be nonetheless. Don't worry. Some people call it a messy gem. I'm like,
sorry. Just going back to the Atlantis and the dive-in. Den's comment. The darker you are, the faster you sink. Yes, quite right. Yeah, quite right. But yes, back to Aragon. Sorry,
bro. I went into this listen. I wasn't expecting the second coming of the Lord of the Rings, obviously, but no, you just can't. I wasn't even expecting Harry Potter at this point, but I was expecting a good fantasy romp with some dragons. I didn't even get that. And it's not about how I didn't particularly like the design or the animation of the dragons, but that's a separate thing. The world just felt empty, empty. You know how when we're talking about Naboo, or when we're talking about your number 1, which we've punted on, or my number 1, which we've punted on, or for fucking any of the movies we've mentioned on this list, they all feel well developed. They all feel fleshed out. And what makes a world feel fleshed out? It's got these different races that inhabit it. The different races have got their own clear cultures. Everyone's got their own place. So the world feels lived in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what defines in a fantasy world the different races, cultures, and identities? Well, it's their history, which you can see through their armor and through the way they converse with each other. It's that very language which I just referred to, the conversation, the way that they interact with other races to determine their place within said world society. So basically, the people that permeate these fantasy worlds are ultimately what make the world feel lived in. right? And then you've got all the aesthetics of the world, like the various cultures, as who have got their own identities through armor and magic and whatever. But there is a level of, it's like this, without getting too arty-farty. It's like if you were, I've never played Minecraft, by the way, so I might be saying complete gobbledygook here, and I just said gobbledygook, so forgive me. But yeah, I've never played Minecraft, but let me try. It's like if someone gave you a blank canvas. Let's go with painting. Someone gives you a blank canvas, all the colors, and you've got the artistic ability of, I don't know, someone like a Rembrandt or a Monet, and they say, draw me a fantasy land, and you draw a hill with a house on it. It's like, is that it? You can tell a story about what this hill means and what this house, who lives in this house, but that's it.
But you could visual a picture's worth 1,000 words. So paint
it's
it.
Like, yeah, it's like I want so much more than a hill and a house. So much more. It's like I want to see a hill with many houses on it, all interacting with each other. I'd like to see something in the background which represents a different. It all just felt so samey. I just feel like they found a fucking field and they were like, oh, this is quite photogenic. Let's do some shots in here. That's kind of how the movie feels like it was filmed. Whereas you look at some of these other movies, you know, they purposefully went to different locations to identify the different parts of the world that they were trying to bring to life. This feels like it was all shot in one location, in one take. There's no clear identity between the different inhabitants of this world. It's like human farmers living in a green field. And it's like, right. And there just happen to be dragons here. Okay, fine. But seriously, and now the book.
Flesh it out a bit.
Fucking flesh it out a bit, please. Like, give me more. So yeah, Allegatia or Allegatia, depending on how you pronounce it, from Aragon. That what a disappointment. Had to be that.
Fair play. So my number 2 and number 1, we punted on it, and I'm not a big fan of number 1 as a film, and I'm a big fan of my worst, but I just found this very underwhelming. Mind you, it wasn't seen in number 1, so it doesn't matter. I'm talking about Zion from The Matrix. Just underground rave.
You're gonna do me again, aren't you?
What?
Fantasy versus sci-fi argument again.
Oh, God. It's worse, man. Just let it be.
Do you know what? For this one, it's so fucking out there that I think it actually does cross into the realm of fantasy. So yeah, take it.
Yeah.
It's so if you'd brought in anything from the first one, I would have been like, get the fuck out of my face. But the second one, you know, that rave you just showed, that's clearly from Matrix Reloaded. And Zion, let's be real, I get why it's your worst, because for all the raving, not literal raving that you did, all the raving about how it needs to be defended in the first movie, Zion's a shithole.
Yeah. And you know, when you go back to like Cyrus and he's like, just give me that pill any day, you kind of get it, because, oh, here we go. That's what I needed. Like, no, like,
by the way,
I'm not
before the internet tears you a new one, Cypher, not Cyrus.
Same actor. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's Joey Pants, man. It's Joe Pantoliano. It's Joey Pants.
I know. Cypher, yeah. Why did I fix there? Sorry.
Cyrus.
But yeah.
You thought bald white guy and you thought Cyrus the virus. Racist.
Oh, how does it feel? All y'all look alike. Yeah, but more going back to it, yeah. Cypher, like, you get it, because when I saw this whole thing of, you know what you kind of expect? Do you know maybe like Demolition Man? Was it Demolition? Not Demolition Man. It was Demolition Man. You've got the underground town. Like, people live underground, but it actually looks like a civilization. There looks like there's something to essentially fight for. They had that it wasn't great, don't get me wrong, but you had the futuristic world, which was there, and then you had something that was those who don't conform to the new society. This one was just like, nah, I'm all right. I'm okay. Plug me back in. If I'm dreaming, like, I'll just live off this dream. Like, if I inhabit for you,
movie, I was rooting for the machines.
Yeah, it's that bad. So that's where I was just like, no. Again, apologies. I was the one who came up with the title, guys, but I went for more fictional than fantasy itself. So anything that was unreal is where I was going for. And that, I bet Den's going to say, but Zion is
Rat burger, my man knows.
Thank you, Den. Yeah, I shouldn't have been so critical. I'm just
you see any cows around here, detective? Es la carne de rata. Rat burger. It's one of the best burgers I've had. Not bad. In fact, that's one of the best burgers I've had in a long time.
Indeed.
And what was the guy who ran the underground? I'm gonna put it.
Do you know
Edgar
what?
Friendly. Edgar Friendly.
Thank you. Well played. Well played. Well played. That should have been a bonus point question for someone. But then Den's too clued up, and so is Andy, so it wouldn't have been that much of a bonus point. But yeah, so that's it. I just
needs to start being brought into question between his love for the Matrix Revolutions and unlimited power. I think there's some question marks which are slowly starting to be raised. But we move on because we don't fire shots at our friends who aren't here, other than the one I just took. Next.
Yeah. Okay. So you're number one.
A complete mark for this fucking world. Was there ever going to be any doubt? The pump from earlier, it's not the Shire, it's Middle Earth. The greatest fantasy movie ever made. I honestly believe this. I really, truly believe this. I don't think this is ever going to be topped. I don't think it can be. I think this movie
blueprint to fantasy.
In everything. The books are the blueprint to all fantasy folklorization and novelization and graphic novelization that followed. Elves, orcs, dwarves, giants. It all comes from Tolkien. It's all him. And you can go deep here with me and say, well, you know, there's ancient civilizations and ancient cultures which refer to these as well. Absolutely. As individual standalone things. They've never been all brought into the same world to feel like they all belong to the same rich inhabited world together. I honestly believe that Lord of the Rings is like Jaws. I don't think it can be remade successfully. I'm completely backing the Amazon franchise, which is coming out now, and it's, what is it, like a $10 million an episode or something? But even they were like, okay, we'll do Lord of the Rings, but not that Lord of the Rings. Like, it's in Middle Earth. It's not the same story. Even they were like, nah. We got all the money in the world, but nah, we can't do that story again. It's lightning in a bottle because everything in this movie, other than Samwise Gamgee, Sean Astin, you're a cunt, was perfect. Perfect. Everything other than Sean Astin was perfect.
I love it. We don't attack friends who aren't here to defend themselves. Sean Astin, on the other hand, you, my friend, are a free target. Go for
Stupid fat hobbit, mate. And if you know, you know. But yeah, but the way they took this movie into the 21st century with the motion capture on Gollum, the acting performances in this movie are there for the ages. The effects for the time. They are looking a bit ropey now, I'll be honest. You know, we're 20 years on now, and they have all of a sudden started to look a little bit ropey.
To hear, man.
Huh?
It's awkward to hear Lord of the Rings is 20 years old.
20 this year. This December, the first Lord of the Rings is 20 years old. How fucking crazy is that?
That is nuts.
It's insane. It is insane. And it was such an event, wasn't it? Like, it really did change cinema, that movie. And I'd argue not for the better, because what it did was so fucking successful that it terrified people from ever wanting to make fantasy again. It was like, yeah, you're good, but you're not Lord of the Rings. That became the argument, didn't it? It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know, you imagine if you're a really proficient director or scriptwriter now, pitching a fantasy movie to your, you know, to the Tightwad Studios.
What dare I say? Look what happened with Warcraft.
Huh?
Warcraft, like.
Yeah, Warcraft didn't do great. And that was something that had, you know, arguably the most successful video game of all time, World of Warcraft. I'm pretty sure it is. And that has swathes of fans, and even that couldn't touch Lord of the Rings. It didn't even come close. It didn't even dent its armor. You really have to look at the thing I found incredible about watching Lord of the Rings, other than the cinematic experience, was when those extended DVDs came out, DVDs back in the day. But each movie was 4 discs. The first 2 discs were that version of the movie in extended format. The other 2 discs were the making of. So how they made the Fellowship of the Ring. And it's like it's like these mini documentaries that came along with it. To me, they're the best bonus content video DVDs that have ever been made, ever. Because those documentaries in themselves were works of art. Really, you know, the way that they were calling Viggo Mortensen up and saying, yeah, we need you in New Zealand tomorrow. Sorry, who is this? Oh, it's Peter Jackson. We need you to play Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. Fuck off. And then it was his son who talked him into doing it. And that's just one of a million wonderful stories, or the way that they actually built these sets. And the reason that they did that was because they got the backing of the New Zealand government, who were like, no, we could be onto something special here. And the reason they managed to get the backing of the New Zealand government to do all this was because Peter Jackson, who's, you know, Peter Jackson is to New Zealand even back then kind of what fucking, you know, James Bond is to us here, just real. And yeah, this guy literally just took it upon himself to bring this world to life. And I don't think that you can get that sort of fan fervor combined with a literal country backing you, combined with the quality of everything that was assembled. It's such a perfect lightning in a bottle moment in film history, much like Jaws. And that's why I'm sure people will try, and I'm sure the next Lord of the Ring movies that comes out in 10 years' time, the Amazon series that come out, I'm sure they're going to be great. But I don't for a moment believe this can be topped ever. I don't think it's possible.
It was my number 1. It's weird that it's my number 4 when I took the Shire. And it's not because you can go to like New Zealand and visit the Shire. It's because do you know what? I just got fascinated by everything. It was my number 1 for the longest while. Like the whole time I was thinking of it all, I was like, this is my number 1. It's a no-brainer. I don't know, just the visuals of what comes next hit me. Like, again, what Atlantis does for me, the fact that I thought of dinosaurs, dare I say, okay, it's sci-fi as opposed to fantasy, that caught me. And again, I hope you called it, so you can't call this one fantasy because sci-fi is in your list too. The visual beauty, as much as this film isn't one of my favorites at all, I honestly, this is me moving.
Oh, you're cutting quite badly there, mate. I'm just gonna keep talking here while you are frozen again. But yeah, AJ, can you hear me? AJ, please tell me you haven't brought in your number 1 yet. We have lost AJ. AJ is back. Hi, AJ.
Right. Okay. Am I good?
You're good. Shoot. No, you're not good. God damn it. Oh, fine. It's time for Nico to vamp. Removing the AJ. Hi, everyone. It's me again. Double V, the Viceroy of Verisimilitude. So, yeah, we have got, what have we got on the cards coming now? We have got, over the coming weeks, we're obviously building up to the release of James Bond. We're building up to Halloween. But we do always open the floor for fan selections. If there is a top 10 topic that you would like us to do or cover, drop it down in the comments below on this video. Alternatively, reach out to us on Twitter at MovieMTRushmore and do let us know if there is a top 10 movie topic that you would like us to cover. If we've done it already, we may revisit it. If it's been long enough, if it's a new one, hey, rock on. But try and think laterally. Don't just say top 10 best Tom Cruise movies. Go a bit left of field like we're doing here. You know, go have some fun. Get creative. And if you can think of something that you like the sound of that you'd like us to do, hit us up, Twitter at MovieMTRushmore, or comment below on this video. Is AJ back? Is AJ back? No, AJ's not back. I'll keep going. So I believe AJ spoke to you about Candyman earlier. It's kind of similar for me. It's very, very meh. But I'd like to talk to you guys about Shang-Chi quickly, because there's something that I've been hearing again and again and again and again from all corners of the internet, how this is the greatest Marvel origin story. I cannot listen to that noise or agree with that. I've heard things about how it's one of the top 5 Marvel movies ever. Absolutely not. This movie does not belong in the same category as the likes of the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Avengers. No way. But is it a great time? Will you have a good time at the cinema? Most definitely. Now, can we bring AJ back in? Is AJ there?
We did.
AJ's here.
Was that Shang-Chi you were talking about?
Hey, AJ. Yeah.
Hey. Sorry, I will be talking to my provider because, as you know, it was all kinds of awesome. Now it's all kinds of dodgy. But anyway, before the internet decides to go against me once again, I'm just going to bring it in. Everything you said about Lord of the Rings, I can't argue with, but the visual beauty of this film, not my favorite film, but the visual beauty, and I hope you won't call it sci-fi. It's in your list too.
No.
Pandora.
Yeah.
I had to pick this picture, and anyone who's listening to the pod, I do encourage you to please go into YouTube to see this. That visual beauty that you get from Avatar is just, I can't compare it to anything else. The film does me in. I don't find it that exciting. yeah, but there's something with the tech.
I'm firing shots.
I know. But honestly, I just find it absolutely beautiful. And to be fair, at one point I forgot it, and it's when I remembered it, I was like, oh, yeah, tell me about it. Middle-earth was my number one. Like, that was the go-to.
It kind of should be.
But the beauty, no, honestly, bro, there's a beauty of Pandora that I get everything that is in the world. Middle-earth, I get everything within that world. That is incomparable. But the visual beauty, and we're talking about a fantasy location, not what's in the world, not in the location, but what the world is about. I don't think anything compares to Pandora.
So here's the thing. It's not even a debate or an argument. It's just something I would raise. If you are, we seem to go back to this, but if you are a scuba diver and if you've spent a lot of time underwater, you'll definitely see where James Cameron's got a lot of his ideas from for Pandora. Not that that's a demonization or degradation in his work. I mean, for fuck's sake, you look at the Riders of Rohan from Middle-earth and basically Vikings, you know? So there's nothing wrong with being influenced by that which already exists, or in the Rohirrim's case, came before. But yeah, bro, do you know what always stood out to me with Pandora was when they go up to the floating mountains. That was like, fuck me, what are we doing here? And
yeah.
They mount the Taruks, the big flying.
Yeah, I was going to bring those up.
Man, like, and the color, the ingenuity. The one thing I will diss Cameron for is that if you're a big movie buff, you'll know this. Boy, did he rip off Jurassic Park, your movie, Jurassic Park, with some of his sounds. Like,
yeah.
Like, there is literally a Tyrannosaurus Rex roar. There is literally that that Velociraptor.
A lot of it is there. A lot of it gives that.
It's not even similar. It's literally the same soundbite. I'm like, bro. And also, do you know why I can't make my number one? I've just remembered the one part of the movie where people say, yeah, but that is like, I have no defense for that. What's the name of the material they're looking for? Unobtainium. Like, that
was stupid as hell. As I said, I do not enjoy the film. The film winds me up.
No, I do. I have to defend it. I do.
It winds the hell out of me. I cannot believe that it has been commissioned to have like 3 sequels instantly, 5 sequels, even worse. Honestly, I will watch it because it's what we do. But aside from that, there is no pleasure. And I'm waiting to be surprised.
Stop it. Come
Honestly,
on.
Bro, I felt the film dragged for fucking ever. Yes, I enjoyed what I saw, but I was also at the point of get to the freaking point, you know?
What was the point? It was man versus nature. We should have brought this in last week. Legitimately, we should have brought this up last week. It's man versus nature. It's the story of it's Fern Gully making an angry rape baby with Pocahontas, and it turns out a bit inbred. That's what Avatar is,
bro. I get it, but but there we go. You summed it up in 2 minutes. You could have done the film in 2 hours. Like, there was a whole hour that's not necessary. Dare I say an hour and a half, but I'm not going to diss the film because I know.
How long do you think Avatar is?
Isn't it on the 3 hour scale?
I swear it's not that long.
It fucking felt like it, and that's where you're wrong. Right? If you're an hour and a half film and you felt like 3 hours, something's definitely wrong.
To be fair, it's 2 hours 42, so you're not wrong.
Yeah, like no, like
Yeah, but no.
Had an hour and 10.
Literally all
Had
day.
an hour
Yeah,
and 10. Yeah, hour and 10, and we would have been sweet. Would have been
hour
sweet.
10. Oh, you in Men in Black territory there, my man.
No, it's a take off an hour 10. Make it 1:30. Is what I'm trying to
For now.
Yeah.
You'll love Venom. You'll love Venom. Let there be carnage. Then 90 minutes.
Yeah. Why are we wasting time?
Basically.
In and out. I love to see the posters out recently. I'm like, okay, Venom's coming. Venom's coming, baby. That was kind of cool. That was kind of cool. But yeah, honestly,
I didn't go mad with Tom Hardy wearing that hat which had Spider-Man No Way Home on it, and is like, is he crossing into the multiverse? It's like, relax. Yes, he is. One day, of course. Relax. Don't jizz your pants too quickly. Right. Yeah, bro, I get it. I don't agree with it being your number one, but I get it.
Let's play fair as well. One, I've not read as many of the books as you have, and two, I've not seen as many of the films as you have. So when it comes to my appreciation of Middle Earth, it's going to be a fucking pocket.
It is, but now here's why I need to throw some shade at you.
It's been 20 years.
Yeah, as we've already referenced it, you've had time.
You've had time, but that film takes time as well. No one just says, "Oh, you know what? Let me just turn it on and I'll just do the whole 6 movies of Jackson." Like, no,
that's not true. That's absolutely not true.
Yeah, that is actually untrue. But you've got to be deep into it to be able to do it. Like there are marathons in it.
Get deep into it. I've already said you and me need to sit down.
Listen,
you need to come over to mine, enjoy my new 65-inch 4K TV. We need to fucking get you here at 8:30 a.m. Get you on your Red Bull, get you with your munchie food, and get you 10, 11 hours in front of the TV.
I will try. There was just I've started it. This is the thing. I've started it, and I don't want to say endured because it wasn't that bad. But again, it's got length, and I just need to be able to embrace that world a bit more. And I don't know, like, with the highest respect to you, because I'm not saying no. I think if I watched it with you, I think I would feel under pressure. Whereas I think if I just sit down and be like,
maybe, yeah.
this is me and Lord of the Rings now. We're doing our thing. Like,
that I'll listen to, but then my argument would be maybe you need pressure because it's been 20 years.
I know, but I think you will find, like, Lord of the Rings has its huge following, which it deservedly deserves.
A little bit.
But on the other side, there are others who are going to be in the same kind of boat as me, if not worse. We're like, I have no time for this stuff. Like, I'm just throwing it both ways. Like, here we go.
And watch people go for a long walk. Huh? Fuck off then. I know exactly what you mean. Dickhead. Absolute dickhead.
It took me a minute, but I get it. It's not that bad.
Some people like a walk.
Many people like a walk, but hey, there we go. Right, it's Rushmore time.
It is Rushmore time.
Okay,
I think this is monumentally easy, to be honest.
And hold on, we're on a different scale here.
3, I believe, have to be a lock.
So we agree with we'll call it Middle Earth and Pandora, yeah?
Middle Earth, Pandora.
Do we call it Harry Potter universe?
Hogwarts, man. Just go Hogwarts. That's what people will be drawn to. It's not mine. It's not about mine versus yours. It's literally what.
No. I know. I'm just saying the world.
It was either that or Oz, right?
Come again?
Yeah, I said you saw the thumbnail I was making earlier. I literally had to put Hogwarts Castle on the thumbnail, and then we went with Oz in the end. But it was like, is what people know. Yeah, so we'll do Middle Earth, we'll do Pandora. Let's not say them out loud because that's what we're about to do.
So I'm going to throw this.
I mean, there is one I would like to pitch for. I do question how it will be received, but then again,
check the PM.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
No.
Well, type the other one then.
I was gonna go with my.
If you don't want people to say,
let me just type it for you in the private chat here. I was gonna go with this one, but I do question. Listen, the type of community that we have on Twitter are well versed in movies. I've realized this now. We're not dealing with dum-dums on our community.
No, I get that.
You even heard Den saying that I'm saying Den is a benchmark for not movie fan. Quite the opposite, in fact. But I'm saying, as evidenced by people tuning in, you had someone earlier say, "Great choice." So this movie is known. It's an Oscar winner. If you've listened to the episode, you know what I'm referring to. It's an Oscar winner. Highest grossing anime of all time.
So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the potential, but here's another one I'm just going to throw out to you.
Go on.
If you think it won't have a chance of hell.
Bro, I love the various... Yeah, I love... Look, we're talking Atlantis. I love it, but I think it's going to raise question marks. Because what I've also...
To which Atlantis?
Is the question is going to be which one?
No.
Now, our audience is well versed, but we also have to appreciate they're also pedantic. Chris Trengrove, I'm looking at you, my man.
Okay, we'll go with it. I will go with it because...
Okay. Also, just to be clear that I'm not shitting on our audience, I don't believe there's anything wrong with being pedantic when it comes to movies. Like, I laid you out last week because of Jurassic Park. Like, sometimes you just got to get shit right. You know, if you're right, you're right. You're wrong, you're wrong. There's a level of subjectivity to everything when it comes to movies. But so if something's not in a movie or is in a movie, you have to be factual in that sense. Now, I worry that putting Atlantis in there, the question is going to be, which one?
I will. It's always hard to add something when you haven't seen. It's very challenging. I'll go with it.
Yeah,
I'll go with it because I can't defend one. Oh, by the way, just for fictional cities, there's one that was on my honorable, but then I discovered it's real. Gotham, baby. Just what I thought. Yeah, but okay. Yeah. All right. Let's do this. Oh, before we do, did you want to have any comments?
Bro, too long.
Cool.
Too long. You bongo, please. No, I'll bongo. Fine. Anya's still awake. I can bongo. Ladies and gentlemen, the official movie Mount Rushmore of fantasy locations in movies in no particular order is
Spirited Away.
Specifically the bathhouse from Spirited Away.
Okay, the bathhouse Spirited
Away. My fault for not specifying that. That's my bad. Our second entry is
Hogwarts.
Our third entry is
Pandora.
Our final entry into the movie Mount Rushmore of fantasy locations is
Middle Earth.
Damn right.
Right. Okay, guys. So, like, why when Nico gave the breakdown of the show at the beginning, we said we then decide the movie Mount Rushmore, which are the 4 quintessential must-see movies of a specific genre. So why did we start talking about Twitter? Well, that's very simple. We, the Silver Screen Dudes, did not lie to you. We did pick the 4 must-see movies. However, we now throw it over to you. Because while we pick the top 4, the challenge gets even more exciting for you because now you have to pick the best of the best of the best. El Capitan, El Numero Uno, and to quote Highlander, in the end, there can be only one. I've got more confidence in saying that now. I love it. Right. Okay. it took me a while. Right. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. Between the bathhouse in Spirited Away, Hogwarts, Pandora, and Middle Earth, you guys have to vote. And how do you vote for this? Do you just shout it out into the air? Of course not. What you do is you head on over to @MovieMT_Rushmore, or maybe more importantly, @We Love Movies, because our friends JT at Movie Polls for You is the man who will put a post up and we will only simply retweet it. So that means you only get one vote, no chance to cheat out here, to vote for the must-see fantasy location. Last week, our topic was...
man versus nature movies.
And our contenders were...
Our contenders were The Revenant, Castaway, The Day After Tomorrow, and Twister. We had quite a good result. 414 people voted. A few comments which I'd like to read out quickly. Our guy, Chris Trengrove, of course, coming in with the shots. Where's Aguirre? The World, Deliverance. Of these four, The Revenant. Other three aren't good movies. And I said, for our sins, we haven't seen Aguirre, which I've been told quite numerous times is something we need to change, by the way. Very difficult to
go
find
to the list now.
I have looked, mate. It's fucking hard to find in this country. Not sure what The World is and not a fan of Deliverance. Then he comes back with, oh, too bad. Need to see Aguirre. Apologies for typo. Middle movie was Malick's The New World, to which I said, and no.
Who?
Because that's Terrence Malick's The New World. It's his wanky live action adaptation of Pocahontas. It's fucking terrible. I don't know what movie Chris watched there. I'm not going to throw too much shade at him, but no, that I'll stand my ground. That movie's a pile of dog shit.
Okay, fair enough.
Mixed Memorabilia, who we brought up recently, I gave them the shout out last week.
You did indeed.
They've been great, Mixed Memorabilia. Please, guys, do follow them at Mixed Memorabilia. They really, really know their stuff, and I'm really happy to have them in the community. But yeah, Mixed Memorabilia at Mixed Memorabilia said Iñárritu is an incredible director and The Revenant is the better film in my opinion. However, my vote goes to Castaway if it's purely man versus nature. I would also like to mention Alive and a film I'm intrigued to but yet to watch, Manji the Mountain Man with the amazing Nawazuddin Siddiqui. Now you see, these are some movies and actors I've not even heard of. So you know what I mean? Mixed Memorabilia, on point, knows their shit. Passi Vitala, Twister, 100% great movie. At Photo Fan, I think they were trying to share a gif of Twister, but what they've done there is they've shared a gif, I believe, of The Perfect Storm. Black Mamba, aka 1821 to 2021, shared an image of The Revenant. Dave at DM Shaw 85 shared 127 hours. You are a braver man than me, Dave, because that guy is cancelled. Richard Murphy at Rich M8150 put not the best of choices. Cheers, Rich.
Thank you.
The Revenant is the only standout. Twister is a terribly bad movie, but it's getting votes, so maybe just me on that one. Yeah, Rich. Randy Hamilton.
Rich. Sorry.
Randy Hamilton put the... Guys, if you have an opinion about what movie should be making Man versus Nature, please come and comment while we are live on YouTube, okay? Like, we are here all the time. We are every week. We're going to go live now. It's going to be Wednesdays. It's going to be about this time. We'll start 9 p.m. BST, British Standard Time on a Wednesday. Come and join us. We will read out your comments, as you've seen we've been doing with Den the Tech and August Fernandez Britos, our long-standing friend. But there's no point once the poll's out to put movies that you want. It's like, it makes no sense. It's like The Edge, cool story. No, it's not there. Like, I love you for interacting with us, but please come and interact. You may even sway our opinion. Come and interact while we're live and throw some movies at us, and we may put them on the poll in the end, but there's no point doing it when the poll's done. But we still appreciate you and love you. Lee Wainwright put, I'm surprised not to see The Martian on this list.
I was tempted, but
I know you would have been. Sixth Book 1 put The Revenant go hard as hell, but I am a fan of Castaway. But I did vote for The Revenant. Son of Krypton 317 said, excluding Jaws, lol, Jaws always wins. Right? Yeah. Man knows. Or person, they, woman, might be a woman, I don't know. They know. Lisa W.A. Twisted Spine just shared a gif of Tom Hanks going, look what I have created! Fire! From Castaway. No Nonsense fans put Castaway and The Revenant. Both wins. Snoozy Sue put Castaway. Caroline put feck. I meant to choose The Revenant, not Castaway. Bloody feckin' bollocks and tarnation. It's actually spelt the Irish way. I'm not being mean. Johnny Ringo put Castaway was just so real and relatable. The poor son of a bitch was left with whatever flotsam he could find to try to survive. The DIY dentist scene with an ice skate sent shivers. Yeah. Plus, Wilson was an ungrateful piece of shit. And who doesn't have one of those in their lives? Love that. So,
We done?
We're done.
Okay.
Fire
so
away.
it's one of those things that I knew it was going to happen when it first came out, and we done this. Day After Tomorrow's in at number 4.
Correct. 14%.
Yeah, I've seen worse.
Yes, you have.
Frank Lucas. Oh yeah, that was the one. Okay, in at number 3, Twister.
Correct. 23%.
I believe there's a given answer, but the comments have kind of swayed me the other way. I'm still going to go with it because it's kind of a revenge movie more than anything else. So number 2 is going to be The Revenant.
Correct. 26%. Clean sweep this week, sir. Well done. And Castaway, number 1 with 37%. I'm quite surprised that Castaway won that. I thought The Revenant would have taken it, but yeah, the power of Tom Hanks.
Indeed.
Don't fuck with Tom.
Leo, you may not have won the Rushmore, but you won the Oscar, so celebrate it, boy. Well, so the Castaway. Anyway, we move on. So, guys, I'm just going to say, just search for Movie Mount Rushmore. I don't know if I'm going to say any order, so just give it 2 seconds. And yes, because the podcast is available on Spotify. Do you want to do it in turns?
iTunes,
Apple Podcasts,
Castbox,
Deezer,
Spreaker,
iHeartRadio,
Podchaser,
TuneIn,
Stitcher,
Geo7.
And you can find us on all of those platforms. Just search for Movie Mount Rushmore, iOS or Android. Alternatively, as I said, please do tune in to watch us live. I guess we're going to start aiming for Wednesdays now, every single Wednesday about 9 p.m. BST. Timetables allowing. If not, we'll tweet out.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're going to be going live.
They're live from now on, guys.
They're live from now on. So if you do want to come and interact with us, do so. If you disagree with what we're saying, that's cool. Den's made his voice very known. Like, no parks.
There was that. Plus, he said, "What did I say?" Because he was Mr. Castaway. So well played, Den.
You did call that. You did call that. So yeah.
Okay, guys. So
that's the show, guys.
That's the one. I'm not even going to refer you to the website right now because that needs a bit of updating because hey, we're going live all the time now. But yeah, guys, just we said it all. Just look for Movie Mount Rushmore for now. The Silver Screen Dudes does not stop there. Tomorrow, if you are a wrestling fan, look out for Ministry of Wrestling. We'll be dropping our Extreme Rules predictions.
Then the tech will be joining us.
Indeed, he will be in person, not in typing. So, guys, until tomorrow for that, or next week if you're just a film fan, I am the one AJ Anthony Jordan.
Double V, the Viceroy of Verisimilitude. Me too, Nico Lurot. Shout out to all of my Nicoholics. We'll see you next week.
We're out. See ya.
See ya.